اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Dear brothers, welcome back to another episode of TABLIGH 101 Breaking the Ice. Today I'm joined by Respected Adnan Mangla Sahib, and we are going to talk about effective door knocking. Adnan bhai, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. Jazakallah for having me.
Of course, and recently we talked about flyer distribution and how to do that in high foot traffic environments where it's very vibrant and everything. But a lot of times when we do door knocking, it's the total opposite. We go to remote towns. I know even right now we're going to a lot of remote towns, and over there isn't kind of a downtown. There isn't a center or anything, right? We're not going to bingo nights or anything, right, in these towns. So we have to go and door knock. And so with door knocking, there's a lot of nuances to it. There's a lot of things that you have to consider. For example, there's sometimes there's pets, there's dogs, and some khuddam, or some people are not comfortable with that. Sometimes there are no soliciting signs, right? No solicitation, things like that. So when we have barriers like this, what's the best way to kind of still fulfill our purpose?
It's a great question, Arzabai, and definitely the approach to take with door knocking is significantly different than open, busy areas or interacting with people on the street. So you mentioned a few of the points already. So I would say to begin, make sure your attire is good. You're dressed well. You're clean in your presentation, which is really important because you are effectively representing Islam for whoever you meet. And just be aware of the house that you're going into. So for example, if there's a no solicitation sign, don't give a flyer there. If there's an animal, be careful, right? Sometimes dogs will come up to you, and just be aware and maybe have somebody close by that you can trust or reach out to if you're in that type of a situation. So first way to approach a home is be very aware of the surroundings, have a good presentation, and know what you want to say before somebody comes outside.
For sure. And before they come outside, but nowadays with technology, a lot of times they don't come outside. And the other thing is that they have. I know even at my house, we know there's that digital basically, or
Right.
kind of doorbell where you click doorbell, camera comes up. Sometimes you hear a person talk, and so how can we still what someone might just say like this neighborhood is just filled no matter how remote they be, they have the technology to kind of protect them.
Right.
So but we're just there to do tabligh and door knock. So what do we do if maybe all of a sudden we're like waiting at the door, and from the right corner we hear like, yes, how can I help you?
That's probably going to happen again because of all these Ring cameras. So it's important to know that from the moment you get to the home, you're probably being watched. So that's a good thing to keep in your mind. And then one thing that's been really helpful and effective for me with those type of questions is, let's say somebody rings on the camera and says, "How can I help you?" You should, I find it really helpful to say, "Hi there, my name is Adnan, and I'm a part of a youth group that's here in your community today to just create some awareness or dispel some rumors that may exist about Islam," and giving them the introduction that we're here together and that it's not just me, but there's more people here, and we're visiting your community as part of a collective campaign to work together and to bring more unity, I find is actually very effective, and people have been pretty warm and receptive to that type of an engagement.
I think, okay, so there's a couple points there which I did not think about that are really interesting I want to highlight. First of all, you said as soon as you go to the property or that house, you're being watched. Now that's really important because a lot of times, sometimes when you're not happy with door knocking, you're complaining before you go, right? Or like, oh man, that last interaction, or you're saying like, oh, so you want to make sure that you don't say anything, or you're not venting maybe or anything, or don't talk about any bad experiences because they can hear that. And nowadays you can save videos and they can, what can happen with that. The other thing I liked is that we're in your community and we're dispelling. So you're giving kind of this approach where someone's like, okay, what's going on in my community? What's happening? Because a lot of these towns, a lot of these places are kind of very community based, and they're very like everyone. So the towns where everyone knows each other. So kind of telling them that we're here and we're doing this gives them it intrigues them to like kind of listen more and kind of go past that doorbell. Now, sometimes conversations are really positive, right? And they can say, maybe come inside. Someone will have a raspberry pie ready here for you, right? So what would you say? What do you do in those cases? Because obviously, they invited you inside. Don't want to be rude, but you also think about like, okay, where's this going? How can we go? How can we go with that?
So raspberry pie would be hard to turn down, but that's actually a very good outcome. So alhamdulillah, somebody is willing to engage with you, and they're inviting you inside. So it depends on the scenario. If you're with somebody else, then you could entertain that, but it's very important to be safe. So one way to maybe kind of gauge that conversation is reply to them that thank you so much, I really appreciate the offer. I'm just going to finish my visitation here in the rest of the neighborhood, and I will come back to you, and hopefully we'll have the chance to sit down, and then go and speak to your nazim or your qaid. Let them know, or the murabbi that's with you, because we don't know what may happen when they come inside. So when you come inside, so try to have, I found that it's very effective, and you get lucky with people right there on the porch itself, and without having to go inside. I've been part of many experiences and so many other khuddam as well, where the conversation right there can be good enough. So definitely consult with someone a little bit more senior before you actually do go inside.
Right, and now there can be a flip side to it, right? Sometimes it's not really a positive experience. The person comes out and they want to give you a piece of their mind.
Right.
How do you handle that, right? What do you do in that situation?
Great question, and again, that could happen as well. One thing to always remember is you're not representing yourself. You're there representing Islam. And they may already be angry because maybe they don't know about Islam, and what they're going based off is what media has showed them or what their basic interaction is. So that is the time to show them that you're different than what they may think. So let's say they verbally abuse you. Always smile. Never, engage with them in that negative aspect. And, it's best to just take leave from that situation. So kindly accept anything that they say to you. Don't speak back to them harshly, and just as quick as you can, just leave the scenario in a good and peaceful way.
All right. And so how can because the thing is that whenever you're going to someone's home that you don't really know, you feel uncomfortable, right?
Sure.
You're going to door knock. You're going to their home. It's somewhere where everyone enjoys and feels safe, and so you are not in maybe a comfortable space, at least, and you don't want to offend anyone or anything. What's the best way to kind of handle it, and to build off that, it could be that a lot of times people, no one ends up opening their door, no one answers the door. What can you tell us or like help us with how we can approach that?
So I believe there are two questions there. The first one would be if this is maybe something that's new to you. I've always found a buddy system to be extremely helpful. Having somebody with you, it just is such a boost of confidence, and you don't feel alone, right? Especially when you're doing something like visiting someone's home for the first time. That's been a great tool and trick that's helped me just get more comfortable. And in the event that they don't open the door, if you don't see any solicitation signs or no solicitation, then I personally would leave the leaflet or the flyer in a mailbox if they have one. Just put it in a place that's not on the ground or not on a chair. Try to put it in the door or the mailbox. And especially if you're visiting the town with like a open house with a date on it, that's actually great to kind of give them, a date-based flyer. So it depends on the material, but definitely try to leave something with them if they're not there.
Perfect. All right. I think that covers a lot of things, and really helped even me like learn new ways of how it can be like effective in door knocking, because a lot of times it's sometimes it's easier to do it in an area where there's a lot of people, but if it's like quiet, if you're just the only person in the neighborhood knocking, it can feel kind of like you can get not as confident, and you can lose it. But buddy system, making good conversation, and kind of telling them ways where to get them actually outside and have a good conversation with them. Those are some great tips. Jazakallah for joining us today, and Jazakallah to our brothers and our viewers for joining us for Tabligh 101, breaking the ice, effective door knocking, and hopefully you can use these tips when you go out and do Tabligh and go and knock on some doors, inshallah.
وجاء من أقصى أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا